Greetings, Glitter Gang, and welcome back to Kathryn Scraps Live. My name is Kathryn. This is Kathryn Scraps Live. It's a show where I scrap things live on camera. Right now, we're working on the Measy Spring album. It's a 7x10 album, and it's got an envelope. The envelope's also a pocket, so we've been calling it a Pock-Velope. Then there's another pocket, and then there's a base page. So now we're moving into the decorating phase, and we're going to be decorating them a page at a time. And then what we're going to do, well, we're in the matting phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to mat everything, and then once everything is matted, then we're going to work on inserts, decorating, photo mats, things of that nature. So at this point, we're just trying to get it matted, get it colorful, get it beautiful, and then we'll see how we go from there. Okay, so let me pull some paper over here. I am using only old paper, so sorry about that if you can't get it. Some of it you can get because I believe you can get Basic Gray from Snap Click Supply. So I pulled the Basic Gray Soleil collection, mostly because I have a bunch of embellishments, so we have some embellishments to use. I also pulled this kit I made for myself of Alison Crefts, some of the Alison Crefts stuff. This is a composition and color collection. So I've got that to use. And then I also pulled in the Pure collection from Crate Paper, which these are all like 10 years old. But this one has some neutrals that I thought might be fun, that we might need neutrals. So we're going to mix and match, see what we come up with. So, all right. So first things first, it's kind of, we got all kinds of stickers. We're going to probably end up with like a summer, more of a summer album, but you know, we'll see how we do. All right. So we're going to be crafting like it's 2013. Soleil is beautiful. So let's pick, let's take a look here. All right. Anything I have two of, let me just kind of double them up. And then the stuff that I only have one of. Okay. And then they're double-sided. So let's make sure we take one from over here. All right. I'm going to take that blue one. And that's going to be the paper we start with. So I'm going to start with that blue one. And then we're going to just pick paper to go with it. Now, as I go through here and I pick my collection pieces, I'm going to try and get one that has a large pattern, one that has a small pattern, and one that has a medium pattern, just to kind of mix it up. And I'm going to try and make decisions quickly. All right, let's go with those three. So then the only thing I'm going to do is just so I can see if I can mix. I think I have another pack of it too, Ella. I do. I have 3. So we have more to come if we need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3, and then if you want to kind of mix collections, but you kind of struggle, is one thing you can do is just kind of flip through, and as you're flipping through, say, could any of the papers in here replace any of these 3 papers, and I like it just as much. So like as an example, as soon as I saw this large chevron, I thought that it could replace this one and I would still like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out, and I'm literally going to just cover that one and see, and you know, and then I can just keep flipping, and if anything else jumps out at me. So like this one, for example, I could pull this green. There's a greener set of hearts in here, and if I wanted to pull it to lean green, I could try that. Now I don't like it as much because this is more of a contrast and I just like it better. But you know, we can try. You can try, and you don't have to like glue it down immediately. You can just try things and see how you like them. These could replace this easily. But let's try and take one. We'll try and take one from each collection. How about that? Let's challenge ourselves. All right. These two are a little too similar, I think. Oh, this is Webster's Pages. Do they still exist? That I like. Those little arrows, those are cute. I do like them. Ooh. That's cute too. What are your thoughts? Do you like arrows or roses? Arrows or roses? All right. So, high contrast, lower contrast, warmer. Or all right, so we're gonna go, I think we'll go with this. We got the roses, we got the blue, we got the hearts. There are plenty of opportunities for these other papers to get used. This is just our first 3. We're gonna probably need more on this page. Okay, so now we wanna make ourselves a little cheat sheet for what's going to go where. So, all right. Let's, oh, I have an, ow, 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 my knee, ow, my knee. Okay, so for this one, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do 4-inch strips of each of the pieces of paper. So the patterned paper for each page is, we need one that's 6 3/4. No, we need 2. No, we need one that's 6 3/4 by 4. That's going to go here. Okay, and in fact, let's just write it on here. The reason we're only going to go down 4 is because we don't need to put the pattern paper down that far. We can use something else as a liner and save our pattern paper. Okay. Now this next one, it's a little bit different because this one, because this does pull away so you can expand it a little bit, this one does need to go all the way down. So it's still 6 3/4 across, but in this case, it's what, 7.5 inches? Yeah. I'm going to measure it because, you know, yeah, it's 7.5 inches. So this next one, it's 6 3/4 by 7.5, or 7 1/4 because it's a mat. So 6 3/4 by 7 1/4, 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. Oh, and you know what we should do is we should pick our pattern paper for the covers. We need to do that. Okay. So then the flap is easy. The flaps are 6 3/4 by 2 1/4. And these are 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then this is 5 by 7. But we might do the envelope liner that is goes down from the flap into, in which case we would do 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. So I'll put both those measurements there. So 6 3/4. And if you write all your measurements on your thing, then you don't have to keep measuring and you don't have to remember anything. Just make sure you write it right in the middle where the paper is definitely going to cover it. Don't get it too close to the top. Man, as I'm writing this all out, I'm realizing I really created a lot of space for myself to cover. Once again, the matting and decorating phase is going to go more slowly than the construction. I have a feeling. Okay. And these measurements I'm writing down are the sizes of the mats, not the pieces themselves. But in the first part of this series, I do tell you how to do each of these pieces. So no worries. Okay. All right, we need a 4th piece of paper already, and we need a liner. So we need 2 more pieces of paper. So I want to use this as the liner. Okay, so we're going to use this as the liner. We're going to use this as the flap. And then we'll use this as the top. We'll put the blue in between them. So it'll be blue. It'll be roses, blue, hearts. This will line the hearts, so we just need the 4th piece to go here. And just gonna think about what would look good next to those hearts. Not from that collection. I think I need something a little bit on the smaller side. So we may pull another Webster's or another basic gray. No, I don't like that. Let's stick with that. All right, I think we're gonna have to pull it from the Soleil collection, since none of these are jumping out at me. Let's go to the ones that we have 2 of and see if we like either of them. I don't particularly, so we won't use either of them. I want something pink like that, I think, but not that anymore. No. 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 Okay. All right, snap decision. Clouds. I kind of like the brown, the craft might work, but let's just look at a couple other things. Maybe just this. Oh, maybe this for the liner and this for the, no, this is the liner for sure. I'm just gonna use this and we're just gonna love it. Okay, let's go. All right, so great. I'm so glad I created an album that needs 5 different sheets of pattern paper per page, per side. That was very smart. Very smart, Kathryn. Very smart. All right, so piece number 1. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to cut this into a 5x7 pinwheel. Because then we can use this one sheet 4 times in the album as needed. All right. To make a 5x7 pinwheel, put your paper at 5 inches, cut up to 5 inches, turn it, put it back at 5 inches, cut back up to 5 inches, put it back at 5 inches, put it back to 5 inches, and then we have that little 2-inch square if we need it. Okay. I want to use this, I think, the paper going, or the little arrows going up and down. So this is the one that I'll cut down to size. All right. Now, one thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make a template to trim these. So I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock, just white, plain white cardstock, 2 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and this is going to make our template for this piece. Okay. And the way that I'm going to do it is just going to tape it to this piece. Gonna center it. And then flip it over. And then trace the edges. Okay. Pattern paper template. Now I have to neatly cut this. And then I've got to come in 1/8 of an inch around this collar. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to chomp with the 3/8 inch side as well. I'm going to label it 3/8, just like for my own reference, because when I come in 1/8 of an inch, all right, pretty bold of me to be doing this in pen. Maybe I'll just trace it. Yeah. Freehand. Apparently I've lost my mind. Question is, all right. I forgot that this is already 4 3, or this is not 4 3/4. It's supposed to be 4 5/8. So because the page it's on is 4 7/8. So I'm going to cut the tops off so that I can align this up. All right, so this piece that is not 4 3/4, it's 4 5/8 is what it needs to be. All right, so All right, let's see if I got it. All right, I'm just going to cut this. See if I like it. And then if I do, okay. All right, so just to test to make sure it works, I'm going to put it on the piece. And then I'll like go through, once I ascertain that I've done this correctly, I'll go through and make a new template. Okay, all right, so this is going to work. Oh, so that was very annoying. Let's do this. Let's make our template for this. We're going to make it 4 5/8 by 6 3/4. I'm going to cut a new piece. Okay, so this one is now the correct size. Much better. All right. So I'm going to flip it over. Tape it into place. Trace it with, this time I'll use a pencil. Okay. And then we'll pull it off. All right, so each of these lines needs to come in 1/8 of an inch to create the look that we're going for. So what we're doing is essentially bringing back the okay, then this 3/8 inch corner, this is where it goes to curve, to make our curve. If you don't have the 3/8, you can just use the 1/2 again. It's not a big deal. All right, and then up here at the top, to curve here. Okay, and then we can cut. And this should fit and make a nice little, there we go. Okay. So I'm just going to stick that behind it so you can see a little bit better. But now we've got that 1/8 inch goes all the way around that outside edge. That's what we want. All right. Now, on top of that, we have to make a template for our holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of tape this in place here. I'm going to close the lid. And I'm going to want the holes I think I want, yeah, so I think I want it about here. So I think I want to come down half an inch. So come down half an inch from the flap. All right. And then halfway in, which I'm just gonna, it's right here. That's where the hole is gonna go. So I'm gonna chomp it with the corner chomper, or the power punch, not the corner chomper. That's the template for the hole. Okay. So now what I can do is I can take a piece of paper that is 6 3/4 by 4 5/8, because that's the new size. And I can trace this on the back. And this is going to get stuck down, so I can use a pen. And then get the hole as well. All right, then punch the hole. That's where your button is going to go. This is the liner. Why am I doing, okay, whatever. This is no longer the liner. This is now the front of the thing. Okay. So we'll use something else to line it. It's okay. All right, now I need to ink the edges. And let's go with pumice stone, I think. Black soot's missing, by the way, so, you know, that'll be cool when I find it. Upside down and open somewhere. Okay. All right, and then inking, it's going to just help it blend down inside. Black soot was like, I'm staying here. You cannot make me. I refuse. I'm going to go ahead and use this map to cut my, punch my whatever, you know. Question is, where is my 3/4 inch hole punch, huh? Where do we think that is? Well, it was in the box, everyone. So at least some of the labeling is accurate. Okay. Yeah, it's in the ether, man. in the ether. Okay, so just gonna ink these. Let's get one of these. If we could just get a page matted so that we can be impressed with our accomplishments, that's what I want. All right, so I'm just gonna, I always kind of like to bend the paper up around the brad so it kind of lifts off the page. Just kind of crinkle the paper a little bit. It's easier to get the well, you know where black soot was in the box labeled craft desk items, which is all the stuff I always keep on my craft desk. The whole giant ink tower was in there, but black soot was not. So that was, you know, that was cool and special. Okay, that's gonna look so cute. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna tape, you know, 3 of the edges. I don't know. What do I need? 1/4 inch tape. All right, so we're gonna get tape. And then we're never moving again, ever. All right. A page is taking shape. All right, so I'm going to burnish this. I'm going to peel the tape, and then I'm going to put liquid glue just in these curved areas. Oh, man. Whew. All right. All right. So that's on. Let's do the liner. Okay, so the liner piece I'm going to cut to 6 3/4 by 7 1/4. And we're only going to attach it to the top flap. Okay, so when we attach this, it's going to go like this, but we're only going to tape it to the top flap, and this part's going to be loose. So what I'm going to do is I now need another template, sad for me. So so let's make another template. Okay. So what we're going to do is it needs to be 6 3/4. And I'm going to just take a little piece of Miracle tape. The weather here is just a little bit more temperate. Not quite as humid and not quite as hot. It is supposedly, by the time it's summer, there'll be a couple months where it's actually going to be hotter here than in Florida. And I'm talking historically the climate on average, you know what I mean? So it won't necessarily always be hotter in Georgia than in Florida, but it does have a little, ever so slightly higher peak in the summer. Okay. This is really going to be annoying. So what I'm going to do is okay, so what I need to do is score this so I can fold it. I've got to score it at like 2 1/4, but just like not quite. Okay, so you know how on your scoreboard there's this black arrow? If you need to come over a scooch, you can line up on that black arrow and then you can score. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line up on that black arrow and score at 2 1/4. Because I want to be slightly smaller than 2 1/4. Okay. Oh yeah, it's going to be humid here, very humid, but it's going to be like probably slightly less humid. It's not going to be like it's not going to be something that I don't think will even notice, to be totally honest. Okay. So, I think it'll feel in the summer, I think it'll feel pretty much the same. I don't think we'll notice if it's slightly hotter or not. Like I said earlier today, at 99% humidity, 94 degrees versus 96 degrees, who cares? Who cares? All right. Okay, so I managed to get this scored. So what I'm going to do is or labeled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in 1/8 of an inch from these lines as well. And then I'm going to trace this on something else to make it a template so that we just know what the angle is and we can just move on once I have it. Oh yes, happy birthday, Donna. Happy birthday indeed. Okay, so now I'm just going to trace this onto this, and now this is the template. Oops. Man, it's 11 o'clock. Tempus Fugit. Tempus Fugit. Yes. Which book do we need to do? Envelope flap. What's this month? I don't actually know. Let me think. We're at least behind for April because today is the day we should have done it. Let me pull it up. Okay, so April is Big Little Lies. March was, okay, so who read Ross Poldark last month and really wants to discuss it? Because we can talk about both of them. We can make a makeup schedule. And Big Little Lies, those are the two we haven't talked about. We briefly talked about Hidden Figures. There was, like, we talked about it on the day we were supposed to talk about it. I didn't have a lot to say. I thought the movie was better. In my opinion, I didn't think it was that good of a book. And so I didn't have much to say because I just didn't think the book was, I mean, the information was important, but I thought the movie actually presented it in a much more dynamic way. And the book went on several tangents that I just didn't think. I think it should have been more narrowly focused. I didn't think that those tangents made it a better book at all, which is disappointing because I really thought I was going to love that book, honestly. It was one of the ones I was most excited about. Poldark and Big Little Lies we haven't talked about at all. And then the May book is True Grit. So what we may have to do is chop a book at some point. Wow, it feels like another lifetime ago that I picked these books. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, it was fine. You know, it just wasn't, I thought that the more narrow focus of the movie was better. I thought that there were several, the other problem that I had, Mary, and this is a me problem, and I actually did speak about how there are books that sometimes in your life you can enjoy them and sometimes in your life you're not going to enjoy them as much. And that month I had already read The Souls of Black Folk, and which is the W.E.B. Du Bois book that is mentioned very, very many times in the Hidden Figures book. She references it a lot, the author. And I had just read it right before I read Hidden Figures. So, like, all the references she made to it were just very, for me, it was a problem because the reason I had read The Souls of Black Folk was because I read the love letters of W.E.B. Du Bois. So I read The Souls of Black Folk and The Gifts of Black Folk, and then I read those two books by Du Bois because I knew that the love letters of W.E.B. Du Bois were in, that book was in conversation with those two books. So I read those three books, and then I read Hidden Figures, which had just like very surface level, no depth kind of, I don't know, dealing with that same subject matter, but the other three books had done it much better and much more emotionally and much more informationally. Du Bois's writing can be dry. The information can be very emotional, but his writing is, yeah, it's very scholarly. It's very scholarly, which I understand for what his project was and the time he was writing and all of that. Like, it makes total sense that it's the way that it is. But anyway, reading those three books and then Hidden Figures, really Hidden Figures, like, unfortunately, Hidden Figures suffered by comparison for me, and also by just kind of an overload of the same information over and over again. So, like, the first time that she brought up Du Bois, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't anymore. I can't read another book about Du Bois right now, not this month. So that's on me. That's on me. So, like, I think a huge part of why I didn't like it as much as I could have at another time was that, like, I was just kind of had read too much on the same subject, and hers was just not as good and was the last one I read. So, and it's no shade to say a book is not as good as Du Bois. Like, he's one of the greatest writers and scholars and sociologists in our country's history. So, like, you know, Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mary. Like, it's not, I'm not like holding it against her. Like, that she's not as good of a scholar or writer as W.B. Du Bois is, you know? So, and you know, that wasn't even her project, but like, anyway, but I just remember being like, nope, this was not the time to read this book. So, you know, so that, like I said, that one was on me. But anyway, we can talk about Hidden Figures more if people want to talk about Hidden Figures more, because I know that that was like right in the middle of all the move, and that one didn't get as much conversation as some other books that we've had. If we want to go over Hidden Figures, or I do need to soften these corners. Oh, the book thing is still in the way. Or where the heck is the mouse going? Okay, there it is. You guys are going to see the mouse more often because my computer's to my left. I do need to round these corners, and I need to round them on the template and on the excuse me, on the piece itself. So so let me do that. But yeah, so Jill, did you or to anyone who's in here, by the way, I'm just going to reiterate that all of the if you found anything in Hidden Figures like particularly interesting, and you wanted to know kind of more about that, especially anything she references like Du Bois, his stuff is readily available and very, very, very good reading. Particularly The Souls of Black Folks and The Gift of Black Folk. Those two, you can really get a lot out of those two, and they don't take an extremely long time to read. But yeah, like I said, I know we skipped March because I was in the slough of despond, and April was today, which, you know, completely escaped my brain because my brain is pretty small right now. It definitely shrank in size. It did. That's something that happened. But yeah, Jill, did you have a particular book you wanted to discuss, or did you want to just try and make a catch-up schedule to talk about all of them? Because we totally can. I make a catch-up schedule. Especially for Big Little Lies. Because we just missed it. So we're not going so far back in time. But I'm happy to talk about Poldark because I did watch the first season of the show, which I do recommend it, by the way. Oh, you're up to date with reading. Okay, so you have read Poldark and you have read Big Little Lies. Okay. I haven't been reading as much because, again, my brain shrank. So all right, so for this, I'm gonna do I am interested in discussing Poldark because I do like, it's funny because, you know, another one we could have read with similar themes would have been North and South, which literally just struck me right now. You know, if we want to talk about mining and that kind of stuff. Oh, I read Demon Copperhead. That's a long one, but you didn't watch Big Little Lies? Someone, I have heard it said that the show is better, that people prefer the show who have read both. But I don't know. I haven't seen the show or read the book yet, so. All right, so. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel this tape from the sides. I guess this show is just going to go on and on forever and never end. But, okay, so let's think about a catch-up schedule. So I've only put tape on the flap. I'm not putting tape on this because it doesn't need it. It's going to stay in the pocket regardless. And envelope liners, I think, stay neater if they are not stuck down below the fold. I'm going to trim just like 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. Just to give myself a little bit more wiggle room. All right. And of course I made my fold in the wrong spot, so. Okay. All right, so there's my envelope and my envelope liner. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we just need this flap, and luckily we have a template. So 6 3/4. Oh, and what I want to do is I'm just going to mark a hole for, so I want to come up like, what did I do here? 1/2 inch? Yeah, we're going to put the flap okay, so I'm going to just come in 1/2 inch. And then come in 1/2 inch. Okay, so yeah, so we can do a general overview. Hold on. Just gonna mark this. I need to know where to put the button. Yeah, I think that's good enough. So I put the closure on the pattern paper. That way the legs of the brad will be in between the cardstock and the pattern paper, so I don't have to worry about it showing on the back. Okay. And so now we have this template. So I'm going to cut a 6 3/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece from this. And I'm also going to cut this one in a 5x7 pinwheel. But yeah, okay, so I'm just going to look at which one that I like the best for the flap. I think this one. Okay, so now I'm going to cut just like a 2 1/4 inch strip off of it. And then we'll trace and stick it down. We'll definitely do, now the Tender Bar, that's the July book, which Mary mentioned she had not heard of it. I hadn't heard of it either. The reason I know about it is because I'm on the Amazon preview team, which is a focus group that reviews aspects of Amazon original programming before it comes out. So like TV shows, Amazon original TV shows, things like that. And it's various different things. Sometimes it's music. I've done music. I've done movie posters. And then I've done whole episodes of new TV shows. The Boys is one of my TV shows. The Tender Bar was one of my movies. And it's, I think, a Ben Affleck directed film. But it's the memoir of the journalist J.R. Moringer. And he wrote one of my favorite memoirs of all time, which is Open, which is Andrea Agassi's memoir. He wrote it with Andrea Agassi, or it's as told to him by Andrea Agassi. So I thought his personal memoir would probably be very, very interesting as well. So that's the July book. And the only reason I know about it is because Amazon had me review the show before, or review the movie before the movie came out. Yes, Geneva, I'll put the book list back up. All right. And just because the book list is covering my hands, I'm just putting the, inking the button for the button and string closure. I'm not doing anything. You're not missing anything. All right. Okay. I'm going to take it down. All right. So this one gets the string tied around it. So yeah, I do want to read these books. Like, I picked them because I was interested in them. But I think his parents were absentee parents, and he was raised by his uncle, and he was raised more or less in his uncle's bar, because his uncle was a bartender, but his uncle was like you know, really taught him how to be a good person, I guess. That's why it's the tender bar instead of the bartender. But anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that a lot, actually. And if you haven't read Andre Agassi's memoir, and you can, if you are even at all interested in tennis or at all interested in memoirs in general, I recommend it because it's very, very well done. It's just fantastic memoir. But I will also say that I am predisposed to like things about sports. Like I really like, I've talked about this before, but I don't really care about sports. Like I wouldn't sit down and watch a bunch of tennis really, or at least not on purpose, you know. Wouldn't clear my schedule to do it. But I really am interested in books about sports because I do think sports are important, and there's like a real books about sports really, they distill all this kind of drama and whatever that's eked out over game after game after game, or sometimes multiple seasons, multiple years. They can really distill it and make it very dramatic. That's why I think like, and also certain sports lend themselves better. And I think tennis is a sport that lends itself really well to books and film because you have head-to-head matchups. It's like one-on-one combat, you know, and I think that's why boxing movies are popular. And I also think that's why baseball movies are popular, because even though baseball is a team sport, often there's a way to frame it as the pitcher versus the batter, to kind of do a one-on-one combat kind of like vibe or whatever. But also with baseball, because their season is like 9.5 million years long and they play 18,000 games, there's a lot of room to tell a story, a very dramatic story. So anyway, all that to say, I'm very interested in books about sports, certain sports, and of course certain books, but Andre Agassi's memoir is very good, and it's called Open, and it's by him, and then this guy was his, well, I don't know if he's his ghostwriter, because I think he's, you know, it's not a secret, I guess, but you know. So, all right, there we go. Oh, we got it. Okay. Just 2 more pieces of paper to cut, and then we can go to bed. All right. You got to just hang in there just a little bit longer. All right, so now this one, 6 3/4 by 7 1/4, and that's supposed to be the blue, right? But even stuff like Andre Agassi was talking about, like his earring and how his earring was such a big deal, and the time when he did the deal with Levi's and he played in jeans, and that was a huge big deal, and everyone freaked out about that, and like that was totally calculated to make everyone freak out, so everyone just kind of played into Nike's hands there and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Anyway, if you like memoirs or you like tennis, check that out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Tender Bar for that reason, because I did really just love that memoir. So yeah, so I will. Let's do this. We will talk about Big Little Lies towards the middle of this month, and we will talk about whatever this month's book is, which I totally already forgot. True Grit. And we'll talk about True Grit on the normal date. And then Ross Poldark will either talk about halfway through June, or we'll just let that one go. One way or the other, we'll figure it out. But like, because it's gonna take me longer to read Poldark than Big Little Lies. Probably read Big Little Lies in a weekend. no problem, but it's going to take me longer to read Poldark. By this month, I do mean May, yes, because this month is, I know, April, but not for much longer. So not for much longer. So the May book, which is True Grit, will be on the normal time, which is the last Thursday of the month. Oh, actually, you know what we can do is we can talk about what if we talk about Big Little Lies? How do I want to do this? Let's talk about, I'm going to cut 6 3/4. This one that I said I would cut 6 3/4 by 4, I don't feel like piecing it together right now. So I'm just going to cut it like straight. I don't need to hoard paper. One thing that became very clear to me, packing and unpacking, is I do not need to hoard paper. So yes. So I'm just going to cut a sheet of it. So we can talk about Big Little Lies in the afternoon show on the last Thursday of May. And we can talk about True Grit in the evening show on the last Thursday in May. And some day in May, some Thursday, there will be a show where I just surprise talk about Ross Poldark. It'll just be, hey, surprise, today we're talking about Poldark. So, and that'll be the Thursday after I finish reading it. So, that's how we'll do it. So that's how we'll get caught up. We'll get caught up in May. And then we'll just be back to once a month. And I think June is Emma, thank goodness. I've read Emma a million times. But I have not seen the new adaptation with Anya Taylor-Joy. So that's the one I'm going to watch. But there are many adaptations. There's the Gwyneth Paltrow one. There's the Kate Beckinsale one, which I kind of preferred the Gwyneth Paltrow one, I think. And there's probably a million others on the BBC or Granada or all of those. BritBox probably has 82 different Emmas. Okay, so. Oh, come on. So this pocket's just a very tight pocket. All right, there we go. All right. Oh, we did it. It's actually beautiful. So we got the first page matted. Oh, it's so pretty. I like it. I like it. All right. We did it. All right, friends. Good start. We're going to continue with this. We're going to continue matting it next week. So I will be back next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern USA time and 9 p.m. Eastern USA time. There's a time zone converter linked in the video description, as well as on Facebook, where I post the reminders of these classes. I will schedule a live for the afternoon so that you can see it in your subscriptions and hit notify me if you need to. But I think that'll do it for this evening. Thanks so much for joining me on my first show back. It was a little bit chaotic, but not as chaotic as I feared. I definitely thought it was going to be more of a mess. So thank goodness. And I'll see you next week, and I'll be reading to catch myself up with book club, because I know I'm behind personally. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, stay hydrated, stay warm, stay cool, whatever it is temperature-wise in your neck of the woods. And I'll be back with more of the Measy Spring Pock-Velope album. We're just going to continue until the whole thing is done. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye now.